Hey, everybody. This is episode 119 of the Paper Robots podcast. I'm your host, Logan Goals, and this week's episode is with Bandrew Scott.
Yo, what's up, Doggle?
And
Cynthia GERRIETS, which I guess I'll be Cynthia Doggle at some point
soon. This episode is mostly going to be about catching up with all three of us, talking about 2018, looking at our goals and going over everything we want to accomplish, but more or less just hanging out with each other because this hasn't been something we've done in a long time.
It's been a while.
Without further ado, we'll get into the show. Go with the theme song. So I know we've kind of talked about it on our own separate podcasts that are the Bandrew Says podcast and the Paper Robots podcast, but Cynthia is also here with us, and I feel like, as cliche and dumb as it is, New Year's are always a great way to get into what you want to do with your life and whatever reformat or just put out those projections for things you want to accomplish in the coming years. And being creators and being people that have goals, it's good to use the new year as a start to doing that stuff. So I kind of wanted to tackle it first with you, Bandrew, and then we can just kind of go over a few other questions.
So what's the question?
What are your goals for this year, man?
Take more notes on a physical notepad, which is what I'm doing for this podcast right now. I don't know why. Social media goals, there's a lot of them. I want to hit 150,000 subs on my main YouTube channel. I want to hit 3,000 followers or likes on my Facebook and Twitter accounts. I feel like there's something I'm missing. I think that's the main social media goals. But I also want to expand the content that I create just away from doing only reviews and expand more towards the educational stuff, which I started to do last year, but those videos were few and far between. I want to expedite the time frame in which I do those. So that's my main thing. I want to expand the content and get into doing stuff that's more dynamic rather than just doing the same thing over and over again.
The pattern creating of microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Like the microphones have a set format because that allows people to compare the videos. Even if I haven't done a direct versus series of two microphones, they have the same format and the same way of recording them. So people could watch two of my reviews and compare the audio and say, well, I prefer the sound of this microphone over this microphone. So I want to get away from that format and do new stuff to keep it fresh for myself as well as the viewers, I guess.
Well, I feel like it's important to have, like you're saying, structure and a certain way so that it's almost like a science experiment where you have your base and you have, okay, all things being equal, here's the difference in mics. But I like that you are trying to, hey, how can I keep this fun and dynamic for myself as well as grow Podcastage and put out more educational things. So not only did you maybe come for this mic review, but now that you bought the mic that sounds good, let's show you maybe a little bit more how to use it, whether it's music, podcast, etc. I like that. I think that's it's a healthy way to continue to grow and expand without and like you're saying, you dabbled in it and now you're like, well, let's put it out more consistently, because otherwise you can easily get caught up in, I haven't done it, or I need to and I don't have content. But I wanted to back up really quick with the notebook thing. Because this is it's such a small thing, but I'm the opposite. I just now I'm getting into trying to do more things on my phone and take notes. Okay. Because I have we both have had the pocket field journals in the past and stuff like that, and carry a pen with me, and I have some sort of I have an everyday carry bag of sorts. I have my bag I carry to work that has a beanie and a rain jacket if it gets cold here, but it also has gum or blah, blah, blah. But I have a little notepad and my pen. But I notice whenever I go to write down ideas, this is something I've just realized is like I get really stiff or I miss kind of like what's in my head. So I'm getting into the like, even though Siri and every microphone is bad at catching my mumble mouth, I like to say it out loud because I can verbally say my idea or thought, like my note, better than when I go to find the pen and then go to write it. Like that, like my brain to my hand isn't quite capturing the exact thought I want to write because I have to put it into words.
Thought or the voice that
And
you want to.
Yeah, so I'm like slowly starting to do that, and I just think it's funny because like I think hand to pen, like paper to pen, is quicker and more intuitive than keyboard and stuff, or like touch screen. But then for me, I've even switched to even more like my voice to
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same thing I've been doing too. Like with since now I have my iPad, I have the Apple Pen, and I have a keyboard for my iPad. So my iPad is like my little laptop. I take all my notes on it, and I could actually like physically write on it too. And not only with like just, I'm tired of carrying too much crap with me all the time. Like I normally, like I believe I have like the same exact notepad that you have that I usually write in. It's like the yellow one with the lines on it. And I would normally use that, but now it's like I have too much crap with me all the time. My notes are getting lost. I don't know what I'm doing with them. And not only just that, but even like wedding planning, where I have to share notes and ideas with my mom, with your mom, with my family, and sending all this stuff digitally is way better than being like, oh, I wrote this down, I guess I'll text this to everyone. So
yeah.
Note taking is a very personal thing. It's not easy to share, and since I'm not sharing it with anybody, I mean, I guess it's okay. But for me, it's writing stuff down helps me internalize it. That's something that I've learned works for me better than typing something or speaking something into a microphone. Actually writing it with my hand with a pen helps me internalize it and understand it a little bit better. So that's why I decided to start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I also wasn't sure if this was to further what your listeners and my listeners are fully aware of is your paranoia against spies, and you're like, look, I'm going back to pen and paper.
I hadn't considered that, but thank you for just justifying my decision to go back to pen and paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like, so you don't have to worry about it being encrypted. You just have to worry about burning the note after you're done with it.
Always keep matches on you.
Yeah. I got a Zippo. I just need to get fuel for it. So there we go.
You're just going to get some like weird Zippo, like lighter fluid in your PO box.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I guess I should back up and say like 2018, Cynthia and I, people already know, we're engaged. We're going to get married at the end of this year.
Bandrew's going, right?
Bandrew will be attending.
Yeah.
In some sort of like, I'm assuming cloak and disguise.
Yes.
I'll sort of Rorschach mask.
No, I'll just be wearing the typical like glasses with the fake mustache and big nose.
Okay.
I don't think the big nose will really do anything to disguise me. I already got that.
I don't know. You're gonna look like one of my tios if you do that.
Wait. So you already have glasses
and a big nose. I'll just grow out a mustache.
There you go.
There you go. Like, is this one of my tios? I don't know.
But so like that's something we got going on, and then we're trying to go to conventions and shows and release product. And you have your podcast, you have Podcastage channel, Geeks Rising channel, all things that are pushing different content and releasing content. Let's talk about kind of your goals in that sense too, and then we'll jump back over on this side as well.
I don't. What do you mean? What do you mean? So like in terms of slinging tent, slinging the tent,
slinging tent.
Yeah, sling content. Sling in the tent.
Oh my gosh, I'm not hip to this.
It's a Scotty Ox saying. I'm slinging the tent.
Yeah. Well, what are you slinging?
Microphone reviews, podcasts. I don't know. I don't know. I talked to. I was just on my buddy Kraig's podcast. If anybody watching this doesn't follow him, check out Kraig Adams on YouTube. But he was telling me that he thinks I need to break out from just doing reviews and stuff. He wants to see me get more creative and do vlogging and stuff. And very few people know this, but originally Geeks Rising's YouTube channel had like not necessarily vlogs, but they were called I Am Vlog. And I would just drive around and go visit random places. And then I realized, oh, I'm doxing myself. So I stopped doing those. But I think it would be fun to do some kind of, not necessarily vlog, but different. Like for a while I was doing a brief history of, where I did a brief history of a bunch of different stuff. One of my favorites was root beer. I did the history of of why we enjoy horror films or something like that. I really like doing that. So maybe just more, I guess almost clickbaity stuff, but just stuff that I find fascinating. Like, why do we like horror films? Why are we scared of standing on top of bridges? Like, where does the fear of heights? I don't know. Just really goofy stuff like that. So
no, that's super exciting because that's when I first started listening to you, like when you're doing that stuff, and it was really great. And so yeah, that's exciting.
It was awkward. I mean, at Tucson Comic Con, I think
that's part of your charm.
I vlogged there, and it was so uncomfortable. I don't know how vloggers do it, so that's something I'll have to overcome in 2018, I guess, if I decide to do that.
What if you walk around with a screen, like a green screen behind you? like a portable, like little, like backpack green screen. Hear me out, everybody.
Right.
So this way you don't dox yourself. Like no one can tell where you're at. Not only that, but you could put like different backgrounds behind you to further, like, so even if you go into a restaurant, they'll be like, but you got space behind you. What?
You could be an X-File.
So the reason I was laughing as soon as you said that is on my Discord server, we had a discussion of doing that. We somehow came across a picture of somebody in a scoliosis back brace with the halo. And we realized, oh, that would be a perfect way to connect like a green screen. So when you're walking around, you could have that. And then you could also hook like a microphone boom arm to the halo, and you could have a Shure SM7B, and you could just be on the go. It would be amazing.
See, that doesn't sound too weird. Lots of people are thinking of it.
Yeah,
there you go. 2018, big ideas. New thing.
Find a scoliosis back brace used.
It's like, wait, why is snow falling on Bandrew's face, but it also looks like the beach behind him? Where is he? Where in the world?
And why is he always wearing a hoodie?
You can tell he's sweating. Why is he wearing a hoodie? Or oh, it's actually hoodie weather. I guess that's why he's wearing it. Like you never know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's always 67 degrees.
Not far off. Not far off.
Well, okay. So what I was trying to also provoke was, we're all trying to like you're saying, like you want to put out additional content, new content. I feel like it's always good to talk about like, hey, this year, like I want to do this, whether that actually happens or you get close to it or it inspires you. Like I started going down this road of I wanted to do more brief histories of, or whatever it may be. That might spur you on to being like, that didn't work out, but now I tried this, or I met this content creator and we're going to do that. Like, so I always think it's good just to set goals out, whether you reach them or if you fail, then you learn from that failure, whatever it may be. So we'll hop over to Cynthia. I'm curious. I know on previous episodes I've talked about what I want to do, so I can kind of go last on that.
Oh, well, this year, I have a few things, lots of things. Well, I guess the main two is, well, last year I came out with a line of 10 with the blind boxes. And those were, how many characters did I do? 6 different characters. And out of those 6 characters, I want to continue with the storyline of these characters. So with these new sculpts that I have coming out, the new toys, they're like 8 to 10 inch figures. And they're going to be kind of like evolution forms of them and kind of adds on to their story. So they're going to have like changes in their costume and whatever it is that it's going to be different. And so I have a show, a month-long gallery showing at Sequential Art Gallery in May. And I am coming out with 2 toys. I'm coming out with the Croc and Orion, which is a Sphinx. And so I'm doing all the pre-planning for like the design, for the box art, how much boxes are going to be, how much the molds are going to be, how much like everything that's going to cost to make these toys happen, and like, and also like how I'm going to pay for it all, because making toys is expensive. Like, as much as I love making toys, like getting started on making toys is really expensive. I have made the most money artistically making toys, because people love toys and I could sell to anybody. But it's so I'm kind of diving into like, okay, I could pay for this myself, like with my day job. It's just gonna be scary and cutting super close, especially living in Portland where it's more expensive, trying to save up for a wedding, and all these other things, just everyday life stuff. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I should do a Kickstarter. Maybe I should try getting another job maybe to fund it. Like, I'm terrified of Kickstarter. I'm terrified of doing Kickstarter again, but I think I learned a lot from the last time I tried to do a Kickstarter. And so I'm kind of diving into all the different options on what to do. And not only that, but also like designing and being a better toy maker and making sure I come out with a better design than I did last time, and making sure everything comes out better and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're in this this period where you're going from more of, I hope this doesn't come across as offensive, but from like a hobbyist, like me as a podcaster, I'm a hobbyist. You're going from a hobbyist transitioning to more of a professional business where you have a lot of upstart capital that it takes to launch a new toy line. And it seems like that's the difficult thing that you're working through right now. And I'm really excited to see you do that, because you are a badass when it comes to business. You've held a lot of business roles in the past, so I'm really excited to see that. I think that's going to be rad.
Thanks. Yeah, like I think since I've been doing toys, I think like doing the blind boxes was like an intro to that, kind of like getting my feet in there and understanding, and like, oh my God, I'm doing this right. And people want to buy it because it does look good and not just because they know me.
Yeah.
And that's like such a weird thing to go through, because like in the past when I've done toys or other things, it was like, oh, people care about it because they know me, because they, or whatever it is. And like, that was the next step. Is like, oh, it's like I have people buying stuff from me on the East Coast. What? And that's like where the majority of like my sales have gone to. Like most of my online sales, which I assumed or thought it was going to be like Arizona or something, but no, it was all like mainly East Coast. And I was like, okay, like this is real life. It's happening. So now it's like, all right, so now that I'm like moving on to this new level, it's like making sure I take all the right steps. And
which also means we need a tour to the East Coast, because apparently that's where toy crowds are.
Yeah.
But
so
also
Chicago and
New York
and Virginia.
Also, I think like what Bandrew said was, like, I want to shout out you, Bandrew, for you talked about recently on an episode. Bandrew says you're like over the past, just like 2017 was finally like the views and your diversified incomes from like from AdSense and stuff like that finally started to pay for you getting new microphones, or paid for microphones you had bought. Like finally that's kind of being self-sustaining, and that to me is also another great place for you to be, where once that thing can kind of start taking care of itself, then that extra money you're using from your paycheck you can invest into, like you're saying, expanding new content. Well, does new content mean you need more other types of equipment or whatever it may be, or travel in the future, or like all these other things that like people want to see you do? So I think like that's a really great place for you to be at, because you and I've also like talked about this on our own shows about, you got to have a day job, and you have to, but you also have to treat the thing you want to do like a job. And like it's really awesome to see that you've done that like for like a couple of years now, and that's actually like it is starting to pay off, because I think a lot of kids think, oh, I will only join YouTube because of the potential of making money, or because I want to. I'll also quit if I don't. Or, and that's like music industry, comics, toy, like it doesn't matter like what you're doing. there's certain type of people that join and then don't get the results or the income to pay for it, and they leave. And it's like, I knew full well, and I know full well now, like a day job is going to be a regular part of my life for a long time. Yeah. But I want to say, like, congrats on, getting to that point.
Thank you. I just hope that what people want me to do with that extra income is just put it into like a 401k or something. Like, come on, Bandrew, you can grow your retirement. You can live.
Get it back.
Just come on, guys. Let me know.
Yeah, get that cryptocurrency.
No, I will never invest in cryptocurrency. No.
Oh, I thought that was going to be our wedding present. Damn.
That's what
one Bitcoin. Yeah.
That's the registry. It's just like
12K.
Asking for Bitcoin. Oh man. And you have lots of things coming up.
Well, so one of my goals this year, a couple of my goals for this year were realizing in 2017, like our first real year in Portland, and having the day job and trying to do small conventions with the like 4 comics I've already made. But what ended up happening was a lot of work, because there's a lot of expenses living here. So there's a lot of day job work, and then, like, I'm willing to admit, being mentally drained and like failing to stay on my stuff as much as I could have, which meant like I was reading less, and I was like spending more time just kind of binge watching shows, rewatching shows, watching movies, which, like, obviously I can write off in my head is a part of learning. And it's like that silly graph of like creators 90% like watching stuff and then skimming the internet and 10% work. And part of that is true. Like, you kind of are always working, and it's really hard to separate everything. Like, when you're a creator of anything, I think it's hard to, because your whole life becomes a part of the process of like digesting what you're living and internalizing it and using that as fuel for something creative. And like writing, it's like other stories and movies and everything I'm taking in are potential learning experiences for character moments or whatever it may be. But I was looking back on the books I had read or the comics, and it was a very small list. And so one of my goals was to read 100 comics, and just like putting a number, like solidifying a number, meant, okay, now as I'm reading them, to write it down, because I know I can hit that pretty easily. But then it's like, okay, it's about getting past it anyway. But it is reminding yourself, like, oh, these are the things I've done. Like, I did read that. And it makes you kind of hold on to that memory. Or by the end of the year, you can be like, oh, that movie, I forgot about it, but there was that one key thing I liked. Or in that book that I forgot, it's because it was either forgettable or because I had done all these other things. So putting on a list of books that I want to read, and then kind of like writing down, I want to have 100 books, 10 to 25 regular books, growing the podcast subscribers, and like, not even subscribers, because that's a little harder to track for like the audio, but the downloads per episode. I want to increase that, have content, and get creators on here and do live shows, like at some capacity. But there's 6 books I'm working on at the moment, and I have the potential, like, realistically, to self-publish 3 of those this year. So that's my goal. There's Beard and Frog coming out as a graphic novel. There's a book I'm doing with Tanya that's about ghosts, and it's just like a 60-page, roughly 50 to 60-page graphic novel. And now I forgot. Oh, the Horror Story anthology. Like, it's 5 short stories with an artist, Stephen Russell Black. And we're going to do a Kickstarter for it and then release that this year. That is like already off the ground. So like that one is for sure happening. Beard and Frog is for sure happening. But I think I can get this other book out. And then anything else, like if I try to do a zine, is all like, it's like confetti, it's sprinkles. It's just like extra stuff that I would love to do. But I know realistically there's these 3 books I can get out. And so it's like about obtaining that. And then the other thing is getting married and having like a wedding. Like, yeah, I win 2018 having a wedding. So like, for myself, like I can write everything else off, but I mean, those are just like goals I have. And I think it's not about setting like, I want to lose weight. Cool. Cause I might also gain weight or whatever. And it's like not about those type of goals, but it's about setting out things you want to do as a marker of getting things started. Not necessarily like, I'm going to change I'm going to revolutionize.
I'm going to think more positive because that ain't going to happen.
I'm going to revolutionize the way I live. It's like, no, but if you try to put out these kind of like tethers or these milestones to reach, it makes it, you start down a road, I think. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Bandrew?
Are you going to wear more yoga pants this year? And not use them.
I already own a couple pairs of yoga pants, but it just is not good. It's not something that anybody should be subjected to seeing. So I don't wear them. I just opt to walk around butt naked. But no yoga pants. But yeah, go down a road.
All right.
The loneliest road is the
one least traveled.
Is
right?
there
you go.
Day song? Is he singing Kraig Adams?
I walk the lonely road, the loneliest one. Copyright infringement. Sorry.
Well, all right, Bandrew. What I want to see is more songs. It's something everyone is clamoring for.
I don't know about that.
I know I am.
It's something the internet needs is more Bandrew plays songs. And
I got metal songs for you, man. I'll just send them to you.
Yeah.
Please.
Maybe a soundtrack for something, a comic or something. Maybe a collaboration.
I'll play them at like a gallery showing that I have.
Not that
while Croc's like standing there like this, it could have like Bandrew's like metal 8-bit songs playing or whatever is happening.
Not that he's not busy enough where like it's like, hey, you could just add that into your schedule.
Thank you.
I already got some done. I'll send them to you. I'll send them to you. I'll let you hear them.
All right. I'll share, but not the listeners have to pay for it. Smash that like button if you want to.
This video is not going out. This video is getting deleted because you did that.
So weird. What happened? What happened to the video?
Or there was just that one weird part in the video where it just cuts off and then like Logan disappears and then comes back. I don't know what happened.
So I do want to jump in here and put you back on track because I derailed you. But listening to one of your recent episodes, you actually motivated me to start keeping track of what books and what audiobooks, what podcasts, what films I've been watching over the last year. I just started in January. And I think at the end of the year, that will give me a lot better jumping off point when I want to do, what was my favorite stuff from 2018? Because that's something I wanted to do for 2017, but I just couldn't remember 95% of the stuff that I watched or listened to. So I think, thanks for the motivation there.
Yeah. I mean, this is just me like an ego stroking podcast. No, because I listen to yours every week, and I feel like there's always like little gems, and also just like the podcast, like the Ask Bandrew segment is also my favorite segment of your show.
Awesome, thanks, man. I
get good questions, and it's really fun just to hear answers and see what people like are asking for, and what people want, and what people hear, and. But yeah, I definitely think cataloging is a good way to. It can work against you because I think also you can kind of get in the habit of just like, I'm consuming this to add it to my list, and like that's why I put the books at 100 because I know I could do that relatively easily without like, if it was 300, it really almost just becomes a sprint to get through it. And that's kind of silly. And I think you do lose. Then you're just like consuming to consume. And what I'm trying to do is set my goals that I will remember what I did, or at least by having it on that list, you go like, oh yeah, the name of that book reminded me of this. And what I'm trying to do, like I was saying at the beginning of the show with the audio voice notes, is when I think of something and have that idea, is trying to capture it on my note to go back to later. Because then I'll be listening to a podcast and I'm like, oh, that's a good question to ask. Or that's something to go look up if they reference something or mention something. And or if it gives me a thought or like a tangent, I try to capture it so I don't just let those like kind of silly thoughts go, because I'd rather hold on to them and see where that thought can go later or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like cataloging. And last year I had started it. I did this thing called Reporter. I didn't talk about it because after like 3 months I failed it. I just like wasn't. It's something that like it asks you questions every day, like in the morning and then before you go to bed you report, and then it'll give you stats of like your location and all these different things, and you can kind of see what your patterns are in your life and see how that tells a story. It's too much. It's too much to like do and have fun at it, because like then you're consumed by hitting your little report button so it will remember these things, and then you're not in the moment of living that thing. So it's a balance.
I know I'm like that even with the Fitbit. I've been so bad with like even keeping track of like what I'm eating. Like you could do that with the app and stuff, but I'm like, I did it for the first week. Then after that, it was just like, oh no, it's like I can't even remember what I ate earlier. I just
yeah, I do it with the Fitbit. Like I like that it tracks my steps and activity, and that keeps me on a healthy path, I think, a little bit. But like logging everything becomes a chore, and it is, I think, helpful in a lot of ways, but also it takes you out of your living experience.
Yeah, and I'm already like really careful about what I eat because I'm vegetarian and I have a dumb body. I have a really bad stomach. I have so many stomach problems. And so it's like I already feel too conscious of that. So like having to record everything I'm eating is just adding on more stress to that. So it's like, I can't do that. It's like I ate 5 Takis the other day before I started to feel sick. I was like, okay, I think I could eat 5 of these and then I'm going to start to feel sick. So
West Coast kids will know what those are. They're hot chips packed with flavor. It's like Doritos, like to an extreme level. Not extreme Doritos though.
Everybody knows what Takis are.
I don't know if everyone does.
Yeah, there's rap songs about them done by like
you showed me that song.
Hot Cheetos and Takis. Hot Cheetos and Takis.
Hot
Cheetos and tacos. Got those.
All right, we got to stop it.
Yeah, Bandrew showed me that song actually.
That makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. I guess I really just was also like, hey, let's talk about our goals, but like, let's hang out. Let's see what Bandrew and Cynthia are doing.
Have we had anything new happen? Like in our lives?
Oh, I do. Yeah, no, we haven't. We got engaged. That's it.
I got cussed out the other day by a customer for the first time in my life. So that was something new.
For the first time in your life? You've been living a sheltered life. I've been cussed at
before, but not like directly at me. Like she was crazy and she had like face tattoos, and this was at my day job, and she called me the B word, called me the C word, and a bunch of other things. And I was like, ah. I was like, what just happened? I was like, have a nice day. Please leave. I did say, please leave.
The C word, caring? The C word, caring.
Yeah, she's like, you're very caring.
And beautiful.
You're a caring. That's what she told me.
Why are you so beautiful?
So that's something new out of the boring everyday life stuff that had happened to me.
Stop being such a caring.
I was being very much a caring.
Look, you guys, there's a link down to the merch. Stop being a caring is a shirt you can pick up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I have an interesting tidbit that I want to get everyone's information. The Flintstones. No, you guys remember the Flintstones?
Yeah, but why are you bringing that up?
It was on a podcast, and I wanted to pick your guys' brains about a theory I had.
How Fred is a bad friend.
Yeah.
And not a very good husband.
Yeah.
And he's a good dad. We'll give him that.
Okay, so this is inspired by a Comedy Button podcast episode. But okay, So there's Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles, which are kind of a part of the Flintstones canon.
Okay.
This is such a tangent. It's just very interesting. I'm really curious of my theory. All right. But they're called Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles. Pebbles is the name of Fred's daughter.
Oh.
So the mythology is, what if Fred Flintstone got hit on the head while working at the quarry and is now living two lives? Like, remember that show where the guy lived two lives and one, his wife is dead and his son is dead? All right. So think that type of TV show. Yeah.
Okay.
Follow me down this rabbit hole.
Okay.
So he's living two lives and he doesn't know which one is real. In one, he has his daughter, Pebbles, and his wife, and it's the Flintstones cartoon. And in his other, it's this weird, contentious relationship with Barney, because Barney's in the cartoons, Barney was always trying to steal the Pebbles, which was weird. And so he's living two lives where, like, one, he doesn't have a daughter, and the other one, he has a cereal named Pebbles. But what if they're both, and it's him rationalizing this fact that Barney's a creep trying to steal his daughter?
Oh my God.
And it was also a pebble that gave him a concussion to begin with. So what if it's all made up? He's in a coma and it's all in a snow globe, like at the end of Dallas.
Wow. So, okay. That makes, well, like, does Pebbles ever really grow up in the show? I think she does, doesn't she?
These are the notes I take when I listen to stuff.
Okay.
I just say.
Billy Madison. Have you seen Billy Madison, Logan?
Yeah, like the penguin?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you remember when he gives this very long speech about economics? And then the moderator says, I think everybody in this room is dumber for having heard what you just said.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that scene. It's a great scene. It's funny.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that was just an example of the notes I take.
How about we answer an easier question? Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles?
Fruity Pebbles.
Cocoa.
Thank you.
Fruity Pebbles, I don't care.
Cocoa Pebbles.
Cocoa,
it gives
then you get chocolate milk. Yes.
Exactly. Chocolate milk. That's why. Oh, you did grow up very white.
It's very white. All right, so I have a few questions from friends of the show, and one of them comes from Brian Petty in Tucson, Arizona. He
is awesome.
He makes a lot of the 501st
Star Wars gear. He's kind of like my dad when it comes to mold making. Or I'll be like, this isn't working. What's wrong? He's like, Cynthia, do this, you dumb. And I'm like, oh yeah.
So he asks, like, what are your thoughts on Quentin Tarantino and Star Trek? Because there was the rumor that he had a Star Trek, or he would like to direct. Like, it was kind of like vaguely, it was the same thing where it's like he also had a Luke Cage idea. So I'm curious, like, would that make you more or less interested in Quentin Tarantino and Star Trek? Like, either, both? What are your thoughts on Star Trek and Quentin Tarantino?
Well, for one, not too into Star Trek. I do like Quentin Tarantino. Anything that he's done that I've been like, this is the worst. Why is it bad? Oh my God. Like, everything that he's done, I either loved or was like, okay, that was very much him. It was okay. I'm very interested to see what he brings to that, because like I said, I'm not too into Star Trek or anything. It's a very weird combination that I wouldn't have expected at all, but yeah,
I like the mismatch of it, but I just don't think it would work because if I'm not mistaken, Starfleet is against violence, and that is kind of what Quentin Tarantino is known for doing really well. Having amazing violence. I know it develops the characters. I'm not saying it's just violence. It's just torture porn. It's not. There's great character development, but he seems to really like to throw in a lot of over the top violence, and that would not fit in a Star Trek film at all. I don't think.
Or it's like, but he also does exaggerated action, and that is something that has been a part of space opera that is Star Trek.
Well, not just that, but also like very conversational. Like,
yeah.
There's like,
well, I was just gonna say we're gonna get the
long talking, which I think that would be very cool for Star Trek.
We are definitely going to get the 20. If it's a TV show, we're gonna get a 20-minute episode about them sitting there debating something on the bridge.
Space diner.
If you want that, just get Kevin Smith to do Star Trek. That's all he does.
Mm-hmm. Which Kevin Smith Star Trek, I think, to me makes more sense.
It seems like
potty mouths.
It seems like something Quentin Tarantino said and was interested in, but if a studio wants it, it's the whole Edgar Wright Ant-Man. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, in that sense, where his style is going to clash with something that large, but also just in general with the themes of Star Trek, like you're saying. I just thought it was. I think it's an interesting question. I just don't think it really matters. I think at the end of the day, I don't really care about Star Trek that much. It's fine, but it's not my jam. And Quentin Tarantino I do like, but together it's like meh.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch it for sure. I would watch it.
Oh,
yeah. What happens? But I just don't think it would ever happen. I don't think any network or movie studio would approve that.
All right. So the next question comes from Henry Barajas, and he says, "How are you?"
Oh, do I have to answer that first?
We don't have to answer it. We could just skip it.
But
and I think that really speaks to how all of us are actually doing. Pass. It's fine. We're all faces on microphones.
Good thing you didn't ask me yesterday, because I got called. Today, I haven't been called that. So.
All right. Well, one more question, and then. But I really liked hanging out with you guys, kind of just talking about stuff, shooting it, as it were. Philip says, "What do you think of the upcoming Incredibles 2 movie?" So, first of all, I think it's funny that there hasn't been a lot of sequels in the Pixar universe. Like, especially when Pixar was first founded, it was like, we're not a sequel like house. But then all of a sudden, like Monsters Inc. got a sequel before Incredibles did. Toy Story obviously did. But Cars got like back to back to back, and then it got the Planes sequel. What?
Up. I'm thinking about a sequel. Up would be
Up-er. No, but Incredibles I really liked and wanted to see a sequel, and I'm glad we're getting it. And it seems like them sitting on it has only let that kind of marinate and make sure that it's not going to be just pushing out stuff.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what it's gonna be, especially after all the superhero movies have been out now. Because like Incredibles was like one of the first ones, and what was it before Avengers?
Yeah, it was before, but it was even then. It was still playing fun of the tropes of superheroes. So
yeah, exactly. And then so what it'll turn into now, and because the trailer that they came out with was super short, right? Which is kind of like introducing that the baby has powers now or something.
Yeah.
Oh, you, Bandrew?
I got no dog in the race. I don't really remember The Incredibles. I think it was. I think I enjoyed it. But I don't care. I know that makes me sound like a curmudgeonly old person, but hey, that's what I am.
But we know what you are.
I just don't care.
Well, that's fine. But I thought it was interesting that like something Incredibles was really popular when it came out and didn't get a sequel, and that's because they were like, we don't do sequels. But Cars hit record numbers, so they made a sequel, and then it did record numbers, so they made a third one, and we still didn't get the Incredibles 2. And then Monsters did really well, so then they made the Monsters U movie. And like Toy Story, it's being the first, and each one of those movies I would say is really good, especially like 1, 3, 2. But it's just interesting that they don't do sequels traditionally because they don't want to ruin it, or like they want to keep exploring different ideas. So they didn't touch Incredibles, even though they decided, we do sequels now.
Yeah, sorry, I just remembered, because of course the internet has to ruin everything. God, there was somebody posted, this girl that was like, I just want to have a booty like Miss Incredible. Miss Incredible has this gigantic butt. She does.
I don't even remember either. I mean, I'm sure
yeah, she got cakes. She has a big old booty.
Did you just say she got cakes?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've never heard that. That is amazing.
Oh my God, he's so old.
So you know what slinging tent is?
But you don't know what she got.
I listened to the 45-year-old Scott Ackerman on his podcast, Slinging the Tent.
I would like things we're excited about and things we want to stick to for 2018. Like, I'll start by asking Bandrew. So something I'm noticing, because this is a video, is that like you said you're going away from being the product, like display. Like, so you're like, I want to take away clothing and branding off of the things you wear, as you slowly become like Mothman and Steve Jobs and stuff, where they said like, if you don't have to think about what you're wearing, you can focus your brain power somewhere else. I'm saying like I can notice that you're committing to that, and
with a big fat logo right on my forehead,
with the minus of at the gate, yeah. But
that's not like a clothing brand.
Yeah. So what are your like something you're excited for in 2018? Whether it's something you're gonna do or want to do or just consume, and what you want to stick to for 2018.
So right before we actually recorded this, I watched the latest episode of The X-Files, which was written by Darren Morgan, which is always a good time. So I'm obviously excited for X-Files for the rest of the year, or however many episodes we got left. I think it's maybe six left. I'm very excited about Silicon Valley. And I'm also excited for a couple of my friends getting married and me having the obligation to go there. What about you guys?
We're excited to get married. Yeah.
Yeah. Excited to get married. I really am. I'm excited that I will have stuff self-published this year. I'm applying to get a grant for a book as well with an artist. I don't know if that's going to happen, which just means we have to find out a different avenue to pursue that book. Several projects I want to have, because turning into 2019, 2020, be great to have content to tour with. It's like I will have my my playlist to hit the road with, and that's kind of what I've been building towards. Because going to conventions and doing that kind of lifestyle, you have to have content, which makes it hard to make content while you're on the road. So I'm kind of building towards that. But more importantly, yeah, the wedding for me. Yep, that's all I need.
Yep. Well, for me, well, of course, the wedding. Yes, making my own dress. So I'm really excited about that. And with the toys and everything, I'm so excited to be sculpting a big toy again. Like, doing the blind boxes was fun. I loved it. It was great. And they're awesome. But it's just, after making so many of them, kind of get tired of it. And now I'm excited to make like something big and have all the details and everything that I'm doing, that, and boxes. Like, I'm excited to have boxes again, to do box art for that. So it's just hitting those new levels, and I'm very excited about.
I think it'll be really fun to kind of jump back either at a 6-month point or at the end of the year and accomplish. And I know we'll do this on our own anyway, but just we know we put it out there as like, these are things we want to do, these are things we're excited about, blah 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 blah.
It's just gonna be me with like crying with my mascara running, eating a bag of Takis, not Carrie.
I got married, I don't care anymore.
I don't care about anything anymore.
Yeah. And also, yeah, there's a lot more like that's going to happen this year, so it'll be interesting to then be like, hey, remember all those things we talked about, and in between that time as well. Bandrew, thanks as always for chatting with me, but coming on the show and being a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And Cynthia, remember, they're all going to laugh at you.
No.
I had to throw a Carrie reference in there.
Yes. Is it because I can look at my dirty pillows? That's probably my favorite Carrie quote. Like, you could see your dirty pillows.
All right. Thanks, everybody. If you want more episodes, you can click wherever.
I don't know why everything here moves.
Go to wherever you would listen to this on the audio. It's streaming everywhere where podcasts are found. You can also catch it on Geeks Rising for video versions of certain episodes of the podcast. There'll be more, at least once a month, you'll get a video version of a show. And I hope to have more of those in the future. Bandrew, keep being awesome. You can follow him at Bandrew Says. You can follow Cynthia at 10 times a tiger on the internet. And you can follow me at that Logan. And if you enjoy the show, somebody, whether it's the audio or the video version, I encourage you all to share it. Bye.
Bye.
Why is it still focused?
All right.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer of Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.
I can't burp on command.
That would have been a sweet intro.
Much H3H3.
That was really good.